Okay, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Lee Maowen, who's an MDI candidate at Dalhousie University, as well as a consultant for Shanghai Oriental Consulting Company. And he's going to explain how language works through giving us a view dependency and valency in the step tetrahedral event model. Okay, so this is going to be a challenge, and we're all ears, ready to listen.
Okay, so
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so if you look at my background, you will see why I come to the linguistic field. Actually, I started my MA. First MA is the English for foreign trade, actually, and now I'm studying the master's in digital innovation. But I have spent last 2 decades trying to incorporate psychology, linguistic, and sociology and business management, quite different field together. And it's just a lucky encounter. I found this linguistic model is quite useful through this interdisciplinary study. Start from the dependency, grammar, and valency theory. So the phenomena of dependency and valency has been recognized by many of linguists. In the book, Mr. Adger and Fisher point out there are 3 kinds of dependency relations. So among the 3 dependency relations, I think the androcentricity always says the verbal center phenomenon is quite a widely accepted phenomenon. I got a picture here. So if you have a balloon, you want the balloon to fly or fly an object. You need a certain structure, and this structure creates kind of dependency. It's similar in the language. I got a citation from 2 sentences from their books. So he put the shirt in the keychain, right? He put the shirt. We say the first sentence is acceptable, the second is not. So according to Adger and Fisher, that's something they call minimal putting scenario requires in this structure we need 3 participants. That's the agent, as affected, and a place. If you don't have a place there, this scenario doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's only the topic I would like to address. Before I can address that phenomena, to find some rules, I come back to my study over the last a couple of years. I try to figure out a common theory between sociology and psychology and linguistics. So here's the model I proposed in the year 2023. This model has been proposed based on series models from different disciplines. So I don't think I have enough time to explain it. Just shown it to show that a presupposition relations is the very basic driving force or mechanism of our language operation. And I have the second hypothesis is what is behind the language operation. So I call it the economy motivated compositionality. So it's generally start from economy, the purpose of economy, or according to TIP, is the least effort. Of course, when we talk about economy, that's a basic reason that a phenomenon is iteration in our experience. If there is not iteration, there won't be an economy. So the economy gives rise to our utility of three artifacts: and token, the type, and reduction. And these three tools can be used when our attention system drives us to make a verbal behavior. So the verb behavior then comes to two dimensions. That's paradigmatic choice and syntagmatic sequence. If you look in details, actually, this linguistic phenomenon well aligned with the neurological finding. That's called snapshot pattern and sequence pattern. So that actually is a neurologic name which explain two very basic neural activities. So snapshots is like we take a photo, and the sequence is like we are scanning something. These two basic processes of human perception give rise to our linguistic pattern of paradigmatic choice and syntactic sequence. The third hypothesis actually is a direct quote from the rule and reference grammar. They call it the macro event property. It's like to say any of our proposal of event, representation of event, is not a pure single event. It must contain its sub-event. So the event representation can be very tight as you are beautiful. So that actually contains a lot of elements which is not explicitly expressed. But you say you are eating a banana, so that's not so tight. It's quite direct. The number 4 hypothesis, actually, I think is the most important one. It's called the minimal operant unit. This, I'm not so sure if I'm the first person to use this term or somewhere I learned it. So that's I still need to check it. When we talk about the verbal behavior or talk about we are speaking something, we talk about what is the minimum level the certain functions we are expected can be performed. So according to Stephen Hayes' relational framing theory, they believe the lowest level of a complete relational network is a sentence. That to say a sentence is as the minimal level to operate as a verbal behavior. And also we can find a similar expression in David Brazil's expression. They call a sentence a irreducible minimum unit. And also I think yesterday Professor Webster also talked about similar sense found in functional systemic functional grammar. Well, because I think minimal operand unit is really important in addressing the mechanism of language. I tried to find the constituents of the minimal operand unit. So actually, I covered quite some different theory. Here, I just choose 4 of them. That's frame semantic and SFL and rule and reference grammar and pen theory. I just give a glimpse at if you are interested in exchange, we can cover the detail because the time is too limited. I just give a quick picture. So, based on the rule and reference grammar, we can see the sentence presentation or clause presentation as actually be broken down into 2 components. There's a core and peripheral. If you look into the core and peripheral, I'm not sure if you can see all the PowerPoint show or some portion has been covered. Is that okay for you?
No, I can see it. I think it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine for me. Yeah, I made my screen smaller, but I can see it.
Okay, good. So at my screen, some part is covered. Okay.
Oh.
Based on the rule and reference grammar, the sentence actually is called clause contains core and periphery. So the core actually can be broken down into arguments and predicates. So if you look into these 2 arguments can be a corresponding part of entities in the physical world or our mental world, and predicate can correspond to the process in our world. And the peripherals, they cause non-arguments elements that they include space, time, and other things like condition and causality, etc. So if you look into these components, it seems we have entity, process, space, and time, and something else. And next is SFL. The functional grammar has a definition of a clause with 3 parts. The process at the center, participants, then we have circumstances. So if you break down these elements into the corresponding parts to the real world of our mental space, the participants can be entities, the process, circumstance can be space, time, process, modifiers, etc. Another one is a framework. So Fillmore's framework. This is quite interesting. He has a concept of the top level frames. That means every language models, or you can call it script, or you can call it schemas, are based on these 6 basic frames. I wonder if these 6 frames are really at the same level. So you have event, relation, state, entity, blah, blah. And I would say, just come back to it.
Yeah, please.
I would have to say, if we look into it, event itself is at another level with relation, process, and entity. We can say an process entity is an element of event. So they're not parallel. So is this the top level really the top level? I have the question. Next one is the pattern theory. According to John Ball and the other researchers, they have a pattern of perception. They have 2 basic patterns. And in explanation of the basic patterns, an interesting statement there. I need to move it a little bit. Okay. Say the difference between snapshot and sequence is that while snapshots are instantaneous, sequence are time-based. My question is that instantaneous not time-based. Although we take a photo in a very limited time, but can we say it's not time-based? That is the question.
Sure.
Okay. To sum up all the analysis from above models and other models, I try to find out the components of or dimension of event. So here I try to conclude the process and state actually is 2 sides of one thing. So when we got a time frozen view snapshot is a state. Or when we have a time activated view, we track the process. So basically we can use a process following rule and reference grammar and systemic functional grammar. We can use a process for this dimension. And space is recognized by all above models, and entity is also recognized. And is that all the dimensions of event? Well, we'll see the spatial temporal relations are fundamental by default. This property of space can be borrowed to analyze the dimension of event. So I think time constitutes a default component of any event. This is especially evident in Western languages. In Chinese language, sometimes the time is implicitly indicated, but in Western language, by no exception, every sentence has a time constant. Also, relation, as mentioned by Firmo's theory, relations also can be considered as a process. You're relating something, but if you try to make the concept as a focus, which is not a dynamic point of view, you get a statistical point of view, you can treat it as a noun, as an entity. And now I modify the structure of the dimension of the event into the 4 dimensions. I include time in it. And furthermore, if you look into all these dimensions, we take a point of view from a set theory, especially I follow Fisher's dynamic skill theory. He described the skill. I think I almost finished my time. Okay, so we have 4 dimensions to consider to make a minimal expression, or we call the minimal operand in our expression. So that means we can establish a coordinate system in semantic field and choose points from each axis. Then we can form a minimal operand as a verbal behavior. And you can see, if you look into this picture, if you choose a process point there, you can find another 3 points in this graph. And each point you choose on the axis are connected by a certain bond. And this bond is natural and according to our experience. And let's come to next. Based on that conclusion, I sum up the relations between the components of events. So basically, the entity and process are the primary constituents, and all the other things are the components to serve a purpose of delicacy. Okay, also I try to explain a word is a token reference reduced event. That means if you have a word, it's just like you see the picture. You can see the sum up. Actually, it is not a complete object there. The complete object is a person. You just see the hand. So the hand here is only a reduced part. So similarly, a word never exists without its environment. So when we come to a word, we just come to a reduced event. That means a certain part of event has been framed out. So a word is also a type. So the type marking the role which a word represents in an event. So you don't have a word which is not a type. You say my or I. Okay, it's the same, but not so same as they have a mark for its type or for its usage. Mm-hmm. So the dependence actually arises from our expectation that the linguistic expressions align coherently with the structure of the possible word. So if you see a pig, this way it's quite normal. When you come to this picture, it's against our experience. It's not so coherent based on our experience. So why we have this feeling? That's because the dependency of our perception of the word depend on our experience. So the sentence is the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you come to this picture, nothing is wrong because bear can ring. That also depends on our experience. So my question is that what constitutes the primary interface between semantic and syntax?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
My
you have
country
5
is words.
minutes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the final thing is the bonds and the words. We have 4 types of bonds. It's entity process relationship is reflected by the noun and verb bonds, and entity focus delicacy reference is the bonds between adjective and noun, and adverb and verb bonds is reflected by the delicacy reference of the process focused one. And the third is an extension of the verbal bonds from adverb bonds. They are from special property to conditionality. Okay, I don't think we have enough time to address the rest. So,
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So thank you very much for your presentation. Let me see, are there any questions? Does anyone have a question that they would like to answer, or that you could answer? Because I see very much the hierarchy of frames, and I see very much how the snapshot and sequence system would work. And it's interesting because it's a very modern way of talking about the efficiency of language, as you've been able to make it very it's abstract, but you've been able to speak quite concretely about your step method, and I can see how it works. Okay, I can see that how it works. And how you finished by talking, how the adverbs are going to work on process and so on. It does make me think about using language in the legal field, which is very, very different from the scientific field, especially when drafting laws. But in which case they don't ever want to have adjectives or adverbs, because if a process can be modified, it no longer is clear. At least for legal scholars. In science, it's quite the opposite. So this makes me think that the context and the frame within which speech or language is being used is going to still have a very, very strong influence on how the way language is going to work. But thank you very much for having described this. Maybe someone, I'm talking, but maybe someone would like to ask a question that would be more precise.
Thank you, Dr. English.
Because with the notes I'm making, the minimal operant unit is substantially a context. And if anything I'd like to have heard more about would be embodiment from the sender of the message to the receiver of the message. Because wherever your intention is, it depends very much on whether you're speaking or whether you're listening. And as tight and as well formed as the model is, that attention is something that belongs either to the person speaking or the person listening or a person observing from the outside. So there's still variance that we need to have an accounting for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So currently, I'm thinking that if we take into attention system into consideration, we can have a very clear picture of how language work. the light of neurological findings.
Mhm.
So if we make linguistics more scientific, although I don't know, we can classify linguistics as art or science, but I think it's possible to address linguistics from the point of view of science. So if you look into the phenomenon of dependency and word classification, and other phenomena like SFL has addressed, we really can find the corresponding findings in neurology. For instance, the 2 dimensions of the language, the paradigm and syntactic, is exactly reflected by the finding of the spatial pattern, or we just called the a snapshot or photo taking process in our attention system. And you come to the sequence, exactly the same names used in neurological findings and linguistic phenomena. So they're both called sequence. That's so that's quite convincing to bring the linkage between the different fields. And yeah, if you look more into the other functions, we can find a lot of things from the diversity. Actually, the diversity gives a chance to find the commonality actually. Something you look into different linguistic grammar, linguistic schools, it looks quite different, but their common ground is still there. So like the rule and reference grammar and SFL, you can see they just use a different term to address the same phenomena. I think between other science study like psychology and sociology also found something common. If you look into the activity model of sociology, so the activity model actually corresponding to our language presuppositions that we have the participants and the process as the core. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the process is at the core. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for explaining this method, and I can see very much how that works. I wish you very good luck in continuing it and defending this. Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the chat. Wait a second. It appears that the person for 10:30 is not here. Okay. So if the person for 10:30 is not here, I could ask you a few more questions.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if that's okay. Okay, you spoke of like tightness of packaging, saying you are beautiful. A subjective statement that someone could agree or disagree, extremely well packaged. But this makes me suspicious of tightly packaged statements, which could be used politically in the context of, I mean, even contemporary politics, where people make statements that are entirely subjective and yet pronounced as though it were an objective truth. How could your model relate to this, and how could it allow for a variable of truthfulness or not truthfulness?
Okay, so probably you can just elaborate on it again. So I'm not catch you. Yeah. Can you say it again?
Should I say it again? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you gave the example of tightness of a tightly packaged statement, such as "you are beautiful," as being a declaration of truth, a truth value. However, tightly packaged statements make me very suspicious of their truth value because it's a subjective statement, not an objective statement.
Sure.
Okay, so there's a speaker and a hearer and a listener. So in that case, how can your model take into account the truthfulness of a statement? And is that important?
That's a great question. Actually, that gives me a chance to explain a little more. Actually, if you come to my model, I call the field and frame compositionality. I actually break down the function of language different from functional grammar. I view a sentence or expression like "you are beautiful." Actually, it at least contain two main layers. The first layer is called stimuli or stimulus performance. The second layer is called the intention. So if you come to the first part of a proposal, we have the stimulus at the center. When we talk about stimulus, there's already been two concerns. One is the stimulus performance, this stimulus itself. And the second dimension of it is how we observe it, just you mentioned. Yeah, it could be, the message could be subjective, could be objective, but the sentence itself usually have quite limited message about if I'm subjective or objective. But this part, you can see, actually, I'm not sure if I still have a chance to show something here.
Well, I think we have time.
Yeah, if I can show you, maybe I can explain them better. Okay, so if the second present's not here, I just show one more thing here.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, I think that will make more sense to explain it. I think question. This one actually is a poster I presented this 2 years ago. I would like to say, let's come to the fourth part. It's quite.
Okay, we see the tetrahedral. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you see, I have number 4 at the bottom. You see the step event model. That's what I'm talking about. Then we can see here we have 3.2 here. The 3.2 has come from, first one is event P frame. That's event performance frame. And also we have the event O frame. That means this observation frame. That means in every sentence we are including performance of the stimuli and our observation of the stimuli. So that's the first part of any sentence. And the second part is intentional frame. So the intentional frame can come into 2 parts. So intention itself, you are going to asking something. You are going to tell someone something. So the telling or asking is the basic intention. And the intention can be facilitated by the pragmatic frame. So basically, I'm saying a sentence function lies 2 directions. One direction is stimuli. The second direction is intention. If you look into the question about how it is beautiful, can be addressed in political situation, I think that will be quite convenient expressed from the four layers. So this pragmatic layer is maybe can be addressed first. So when you hear someone that's beautiful, the pragmatic purpose behind it is contextualized. If your party, your components actually don't agree with you, and he's still saying it, that's pragmatically is ironic. So that's because this pragmatic guideline will decide how the observation is made. So the observation is made in a way he or she doesn't believe you. Okay? So the observation that's beautiful. They reflect an observation that something not true. So observation actually is along a reality and irreality scale. So in every sentence we have this scale, no matter we directly say it or not. So sometimes we say I think so, sometimes I believe, some I doubt. So that's direct observation word, but it's beautiful. It also has observation there that based on the context, which can be decided by the pragmatic purpose. So, and also the intention. When you say it's beautiful, what is intention? He won't convince you or not. Or he just won't ignore what you are saying. So the intention will also give you power to unpack his package. So it is beautiful. What is beautiful? If you are doing it, means something with integrity, it is doubted, is questioned, then you know that observation is not true. It's on the negative scale. But if otherwise someone really endorse your opinion, and this pragmatic, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's direct observation come to the positive scale, except 100% true. So that observation is on the positive side. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that's correct.
What about, look at it this way, could we say intention impacts our experience of meaning? Saying yes. That we're going to evaluate intention, maybe even before we consider meaning.
Yeah, so we would say it's because our communication functions in two directions. And the primary direction is intention. If there's no intention, there's no sentence, no utterance to be expressed. And follow the intention. Why we have the intention? Because we have the stimulus from the environment. And our language actually is a response. Whichever language, when we ask a sentence, it must be a response actually. And this response to the hearer is a stimulant.
Okay. I'm happy. I'm happy for now. I don't know if anyone else wants to ask any questions. I think I'm not sure because I don't really have the view of everything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. I don't see the next speaker here yet, who should be Mr. Yakub, and I don't see his name, and so I'm not too worried about it. And the next person would be a Mr. Azaturk, and I don't see him either. So I think that's pretty good. I'm just wondering, you've put some Johnson and some Lakoff embodiment in your references.
Yeah.
And how do you fit just the basic metaphorical embodiment, understanding of language into this step model?
Yeah, so that's quite a basic thing. I think embodiment has a great influence on my formation of this theory. So when it comes to embodiment, it comes to our experience actually. So embodiment itself means our language actually cannot be expressed without our experience. So when we come to the experience, where does the experience come from? It comes from the interaction with the world. We are receiving stimuli. So it's actually our psychological cycle, we call the ABC, that created our repertoire of semantic field. That's the A means the antecedent. Antecedent, that's our word, our experience. And the B means behavior. It's how we respond to the world. And C is the consequence. So does the consequence negative or positive? So that gives us a chance to use that language again. We feel that language is exceptional. So language itself is formed in this process. So this process says it depend on experience. Hence, we would say embodiment is at the core. So embodiment actually come to our process of the skill formation. This skill formation is the set theory building process. It comes from the first set building. You have one single stimuli. You come to a successful verbal behavior, then you keep it. You build the first set of your skill. And with this set build, you build another set, and you match the set together. You make the higher set. Then you come the set matching together to build a systematic. Now you say you speak wonderful language, so you know the grammar, you know how to express anything in science and linguistics. So that's a couple of system. So you have in total our repertoire of semantic field is systems of system. So then this system is an embodiment experience. So it's all from our experience. So at the bottom of this experience, they are actually lies in schemas. So if you don't have schemas, you don't have a chance to associate. So that's from the schemas we build a whole bunch of expressions or beliefs. So that's why I come from the field of presupposition relation. That means all our language ability presuppose the schemas we acquired through our experience. So that embodiment give us the power to come from a very basic field we call the space. So the space phenomenon is just where we pick up every perceptions, affections, our skills there. So that's why, as I say, the field of our knowledge, field of skill, actually start up from a very basic schema. That's the space schema. So in the sketch schema, we have two very basic structure energy. So structure energy is behind everything. So that's a starting point. And based on the semantic scale theory. Semantic Osgood has a semantic scale theory. You have three properties, three dimensions. That's the activity, potency, and property. And you will find all these three dimensions actually covers every activity, every human activity. You always have some property of something. Is that property has the potency, has a scale, so that's possible to come up with activity. You don't have the property, you don't have the enough potency, you don't have the activity. And so this coincidence is aligned well with Johnson's idea about the primary schema. There's a path schema, container schema, and scale and execution schema. So exactly that's a bingo. So if you look in the different social psychology and linguistics, you find here is the space property a perfect starting point to combine all these fields together. You find psychology, linguistics, and sociology, you can have the same source from here. If you look into any of the sociology or psychology, structure and energy is always the same. And language actually is the same. So your sentence structure, how you structure your language actually carries the energy to impact the word, impact your listener. So it's your structure of your language that impresses the other party to pass on the energy. And this is from the material field, from biosensation field and social field, it's from different level. There are always the presupposition relations from simple to complicated. And then if you come to the social field, they can develop into another sub figure here. That's some driving force. We always have to think about this mechanism of our interaction. So if we come to pragmatic linguistics, I think this portion would also be considered a point that can be considered. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Does anybody have any question they would like to ask? Or are you okay? Okay. So then that gives us some time. Although I have still more questions, but that's okay. I'm not going to abuse of your time, but I'm very, very happy to have seen the development of this. It's very complex. It takes a lot of thinking, to get there. But I think it certainly looks to have a lot of potential. So thank you very much.
Thank you for encouragement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.